Welcome back, investors. In today's video, we are going to discuss an interesting small cap company operating in the water solutions and water infrastructure management space. Water is gradually becoming one of the world's most critical and scarce resources. As cities expand, industries grow, and demand for clean water rises, the need for efficient water management solutions will become even more important. This could create a massive long-term opportunity for companies operating in this sector. So before discussing the company, let us first understand how this opportunity is being created.
Nearly 71% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, but only about 2.5% is fresh water, and of this, less than 1% is readily available for human use. That tiny fraction has to support billions of people, entire industries, agriculture, and power generation across the world. Now zoom out a little further. More than 2.2 billion people still do not have access to safely managed drinking water. And by 2050, nearly 5 billion people could be living in water-stressed regions. So this is no longer just a water problem. It is becoming an infrastructure problem, a planning problem, a survival problem. And as populations grow, cities expand, and climate patterns become more unpredictable, the pressure on existing water infrastructure is only going to rise. The challenge becomes even more serious when we look at India. India is home to nearly 18% of the world's population, but only around 4% of global freshwater resources, which means the country is facing a widening gap between available water and future demand. India's annual utilizable water resources are estimated at approximately 1,123 billion cubic meters, while total water demand is projected to reach around 1,447 billion cubic meters by 2050. At the same time, groundwater depletion, pollution, uneven rainfall, and climate change continue to reduce the availability of usable water, creating a structural demand-supply mismatch that cannot be solved by conservation alone. Which means meeting this challenge requires far more than finding new sources of water. Every additional liter must be stored, controlled, screened, pumped, treated, transported, distributed, recycled, and reused through a vast network of engineered infrastructure. Governments are therefore investing heavily in water treatment plants, sewage treatment facilities, dams, canals, flood control systems, and water reuse projects, while industries such as mining, chemicals, power, and manufacturing are deploying increasingly sophisticated process equipment to recover water, improve efficiency, and comply with stricter environmental standards. Water is no longer just a natural resource. It is becoming one of the world's largest infrastructure opportunities. The future of water will not be determined by how much rainfall a country receives, but by how efficiently it can capture, manage, treat, and reuse every drop. That is why water infrastructure is emerging as one of the most important long-term investment themes globally.
Now, to really understand this opportunity, let's follow the journey of a single drop of water. Think of it like ordering a package online. Before it reaches your doorstep, it passes through warehouses, quality checks, transportation, and finally local delivery. If any one step breaks, the entire chain gets disrupted. Water follows a surprisingly similar journey.
It all begins at rivers, lakes, and reservoirs where water is first collected and stored. From there, water control gates regulate when, where, and how much water should flow, while screens remove leaves, plastics, and other debris before they can damage downstream equipment. Once the water is cleared, pumps move it across long distances to treatment plants where impurities and harmful contaminants are removed. It then travels through large transmission pipelines before finally reaching homes, industries, and businesses through local distribution networks.
And that's exactly where today's company operates. The company is Jash Engineering. Over the years, Jash Engineering has transformed from a domestic engineering company into a globally diversified water infrastructure player with manufacturing facilities, subsidiaries, and operations spanning multiple international markets.
But the journey doesn't end there. After being used, wastewater enters a separate collection network and is sent back to treatment plants. There, it is cleaned and in many industries, treated even further before being recycled and reused for applications such as manufacturing and irrigation. In other words, modern water infrastructure isn't a straight line. It's a complete circular ecosystem. And that's exactly where today's company operates. The company is Jash Engineering. Over the years, Jash Engineering has transformed from a domestic engineering company into a globally diversified water infrastructure player with manufacturing facilities, subsidiaries, and operations spanning multiple international markets. Rather than relying on a single geography or product category, the company has steadily expanded its presence through capacity additions, new product development, and strategic acquisitions, allowing it to participate across municipal water infrastructure, wastewater treatment, hydropower, and industrial process applications. Now, let's understand the different products the company manufactures and how each contributes to its business. It all begins with controlling the flow of water. Water control gates form the largest product, contributing nearly 69% of total revenue and is the backbone of water infrastructure. This product regulates, isolates, and controls the flow of water across dams, reservoirs, canals, barrages, hydropower projects, pumping stations, water treatment plants, and flood control systems. Depending on the application, the supplies sluice gates, slide gates, radial gates, roller gates, stop logs, and other specialized fabricated flow control equipment. Since every project requires customized engineering, precision fabrication, and decades of reliable operation, this continues to be the company's largest and most technically demanding business. But controlling water is only one part of the story. Before water can even enter the system, it first needs to be protected. That's where screening equipment comes in, contributing nearly 14% of Jash's revenue. These systems remove logs, plastics, leaves, and other debris before water reaches pumps or treatment plants, preventing damage and improving overall efficiency. From bar screens and trash racks to intake screens, these products are widely used across water treatment plants, sewage treatment facilities, and pumping stations. As investments in wastewater treatment continue to rise, so does the demand for this business. Once the water is clean and moving through the network, the next challenge is controlling that movement with precision. That's where valves play their role, contributing around 10% of revenue. Installed across treatment plants, pumping stations, industrial facilities, and irrigation networks, they regulate and isolate the flow of water and other fluids. The company manufactures a wide range of specialized valves, while continuous product development is helping it expand beyond municipal water infrastructure into higher value industrial applications such as chemicals and oil sands. Some projects, however, operate under conditions that are far more demanding than a conventional water network. Hydropower equipment, which contributes around 7% of revenue, is designed for exactly these environments. Whether it's dams, hydropower stations, irrigation canals, or large pumping facilities, this equipment has to withstand enormous water pressure while operating reliably for decades, making it one of the most specialized parts of the company's portfolio. A growing part of the opportunity now comes from industries themselves. That's where industrial process equipment comes in. Instead of serving municipal water projects, these products are used across mining, metals, chemicals, and industrial wastewater treatment. Whether it's recovering water, separating solids from liquids, or improving process efficiency, these systems help industries use water more efficiently while meeting increasingly stringent environmental regulations. In doing so, Jash expands beyond municipal infrastructure into an entirely new growth market. And as these industries continue to evolve, so do customer requirements. That's why product development has become an important part of Jash's strategy. Through continuous R&D, the company keeps developing specialized solutions such as high-pressure knife gate valves for oil sands, HDPE valves for chemical industries, motorized swing gate valves for high-temperature environments, and advanced disc filters. Every innovation not only strengthens its technology portfolio, but also opens the door to newer, higher-value applications over time. Now comes one of the most important strategic layers in the story, the global manufacturing footprint. As Jash expanded beyond India, one thing became very clear. Serving global markets from a single manufacturing location wasn't enough. Different countries have different standards, approvals, and customer expectations. So the company gradually built a global manufacturing footprint, bringing production closer to customers and making execution faster and more competitive. At the center of this network is India, which continues to serve as Jash's primary engineering and manufacturing hub. From here, the company manufactures high-value water control equipment, valves, and screening systems, while continuous capacity expansion supports both domestic demand and its growing international business. But building a global manufacturing network was only one part of the strategy. The company made strategic acquisitions aimed at growing the business. Now let's look at the acquisitions they made. All being strategic acquisitions, some added world-class technology, some opened the doors to entirely new geographies, and others expanded the company's addressable market into completely new industries.
And yeah, investors, we also find these small cap and micro cap and SME opportunities at an early stage through our research services, Emerging Titans and Tiny Titans. Emerging Titans is mainly built for main board small and mid cap companies, while Tiny Titans focuses purely on SME listed stocks. Across both services, you will receive detailed research reports, entry and exit strategies, allocation guidance, and regular updates. So if you want to be a part of our research community, you can visit valueeducator.com or check the link in the description. We follow our sprint framework to discover such niche stocks with strong potential. So if you haven't subscribed to our services, please do check out the details. Now let's get back to our video.
Take Mahar Maschinenbau for example. Acquired back in 2014 for an enterprise value of around 2 million euros, Mahar wasn't a large business. In fact, it generated less than 5 crore of annual revenue at the time. But revenue was never the reason behind the acquisition. Mahar was one of the pioneers of mechanized cleaning technology, and according to management, Mahar had introduced the world's first mechanized bar screen as far back as 1927. That gave Josh something much more valuable than revenue: globally recognized technology and decades of engineering expertise. Instead of manufacturing everything from scratch, Josh integrated Mahar's technology into its Indian manufacturing base, significantly reducing costs while expanding the product's reach through its own global distribution network. Today, revenue from Mahar's products has grown to around 15 crore rupees, more than 3 times what it was at acquisition. The next major milestone came in 2023 with the acquisition of Waterfront Fluid Controls in the United Kingdom for around £2 million. Unlike Mahar, this wasn't about technology. It was about establishing a local presence inside one of the world's most mature water infrastructure markets. At the time, Waterfront generated around 2 to 2.2 million pounds in annual revenue and already had long-standing relationships with UK water utilities. Rather than serving the UK only through exports, Josh immediately gained local manufacturing, engineering, servicing capabilities, and direct customer access. Management now expects the business to grow to around 5.5 to 6 million pounds in the near term, with a long-term target of 10 to 12 million pounds. Further, that platform became even stronger in April 2026 with the acquisition of Penstocks UK for around 5 to 6 crores. This acquisition will help Waterfront to establish a pan-UK presence with operations in Scotland, as well as adding a manufacturing facility in the Midlands, one of the UK's largest water utility regions. Together, Waterfront in Scotland and Penstocks in England now provide Josh with a true pan-UK manufacturing and service network. Management expects the combined business to scale to around 135 crore over the next 3 to 4 years. The company's biggest international move, however, came in 2024 through the acquisition of Rodney Hunt in the United States for around $4 million. Founded back in 1840, Rodney Hunt is one of North America's oldest manufacturers of water control equipment. More importantly, it brought with it an established customer base, decades of relationships with municipal authorities, and immediate credibility in one of the world's largest water infrastructure markets. Today, Rodney Hunt generates around $30 million in annual revenue, but management believes this is only the beginning. Over the next 5 years, the ambition is to more than double the business to nearly $75 million. Powering that next phase is the new Houston manufacturing facility, which brings production closer to customers, shortens delivery timelines, and significantly reduces tariff-related risks. The latest acquisition looks very different from all the others. Westtech, acquired in January 2026 for around 30 to 40 crore, wasn't primarily about entering a new country. It was about entering an entirely new business. Unlike Josh's traditional municipal water infrastructure business, Westtech specializes in industrial process equipment used across mining, metals, chemicals, and industrial wastewater treatment. The business generated around 55 crore of revenue and 4 crore of profit at acquisition, while already carrying an order book of approximately 45 crore. Management believes the industrial process equipment opportunity itself is worth nearly 300 to 400 crore annually, with Westtech expected to grow by 100 crores in 3 years.
If you step back and look at all these acquisitions together, a very clear pattern emerges. Mahar added technology, Waterfront created the UK platform, Penstocks expanded that platform nationwide, Rodney Hunt unlocked North America, and Westech opened an entirely new industrial vertical. In other words, every acquisition solved a different strategic problem.
And together they have transformed Jash from an Indian equipment manufacturer into a genuinely global water infrastructure company. The next logical step, of course, is expanding manufacturing capacity to support this much larger global opportunity. It starts with India, which continues to remain the backbone of Jash's manufacturing network. The Pithampur SEZ facility is already operational, and the company continues to invest across its Indian plants, having spent over 37 crore on plant and machinery during FY26, with another 15 to 16 crore of capex planned. But expanding capacity in India is only one part of the strategy. To truly compete in the world's largest water infrastructure market, manufacturing also needs to move closer to the customer. That's exactly why the company is setting up its Houston facility with an investment of around $4.5 to $5 million, while the overall US expansion is expected to involve nearly $6 to $6.5 million, of which $4 million has already been arranged. The facility will manufacture large fabricated products such as water control gates, sluice gates, radial gates, roller gates, stop logs, and screening equipment directly within the United States. Besides reducing logistics costs, shortening delivery timelines, and lowering tariff exposure, management believes this facility alone has the potential to contribute nearly 300 crore of annual revenue over the next 5 years. Saudi Arabia represents the next phase of international expansion. The company has incorporated Rodney Hunt Mar Industries in Saudi Arabia and plans to establish its manufacturing facility in Dammam 3. Construction is expected to take 10-12 months, with commercial production targeted from September 2027. The planned investment is relatively modest at around 2 to 4 million US dollars, but the strategic importance is significantly larger. Local manufacturing enables participation in localization programs, provides price and purchase preference in Saudi tenders, supports EPC contractors operating in the region, and creates access to opportunities across the broader GCC market. Initially, the Saudi business is expected to contribute 20 to 25 crore of revenue. Over time, management expects the operation to scale to approximately 100 crore of annual revenue, with an ambition to double the Saudi business over the next 4 to 5 years as regional demand expands. With the capacity expansion in the US, UK, and Saudi Arabia, the current revenue potential is 1,000 crores, which will grow to around 1,500 crores in the next 5 years. In other words, the company isn't just adding factories, it's creating the manufacturing capacity needed for the next phase of growth across both domestic and international markets. The growth drivers behind this business are structural, not cyclical. India's water infrastructure opportunity alone is huge. The government has allocated over 4 lakh crore for the extended Jal Jeevan mission. Amrut 2.0 adds 2.99 lakh crore, Namami Gange adds 22,500 crore, and river linking and state irrigation programs together push the opportunity beyond 11 lakh crore over the coming decade. When a company supplies gates, screens, valves, and process equipment into that capex cycle, it is participating in a very long runway. Wastewater is another major theme. India generates nearly 72,000 million liters per day of sewage, but installed treatment capacity is only around 32,000 million liters per day. That means more than half of wastewater remains untreated. As pollution norms tighten and water reuse grows in importance, new sewage treatment plants and tertiary treatment facilities will need screening systems, gates, valves, and sludge handling equipment. Industrial water and process equipment is also a strong opportunity. India's industrial wastewater market is estimated at $2 to $3 billion and is expected to grow at 10 to 12% CAGR, driven by mining, steel, chemicals, power, and pulp and paper. That is where Westech matters. Saudi Arabia is planning more than $80 billion of water investment by 2030 under Vision 2030. The US has allocated over $50 billion for water infrastructure modernization. The UK is entering AMP8, a regulatory cycle with approximately £104 billion of planned sector investment, nearly double the previous cycle. In short, the opportunity is not concentrated in one country. It is spread across several long cycle markets at the same time. Now let's come to the financials. At first glance, FY26 may appear to be a year where growth slowed, but it's important to understand what was happening beneath the surface. Consolidated revenue came in at 757 crore compared with 746 crore in FY25, as exports to the United States were temporarily impacted by tariff-related disruptions and the Middle East conflict. Even during this period, the domestic business still grew by 18%, showing that the underlying demand environment remained strong. More importantly, the company wasn't standing still. It continued expanding manufacturing capacity across India, the US and Saudi Arabia to support its next phase of growth. As these facilities gradually come online, management expects revenue momentum to improve, guiding for around 875 crore in FY27 while maintaining its longer-term ambition of crossing 1,500 crore over the next 5 years. With production becoming increasingly localized, particularly through the upcoming Houston facility, tariff-related risks are also expected to reduce over time. The margin story is just as important. FY26 was under pressure because some US export orders had already been booked before tariffs moved, so price pass-through did not happen immediately. That is why PAT came down from 86 crore in FY25 to 75 crore rupees in FY26. But if you zoom out, the picture is still impressive. Profit after tax has grown from 30 crore rupees in FY21 to 75 crore in FY26, which works out to a 16% CAGR. Going ahead, management is still guiding for a healthy operating band of 50 to 55% gross margin, 22 to 25% EBITDA margin, and 12 to 14% profit after tax margin. And even in an adverse tariff scenario, PAT margins were still maintained at around 9 to 10%. So the real takeaway here is not that the business has lost momentum. It is that it is still growing while protecting profitability. And that is exactly why the order book becomes the next thing to look at. One of the biggest strengths of this business today is its revenue visibility. The consolidated order book stands at approximately 899 crore. If we also include nearly 45 crore of completed but yet to be accounted execution, the effective executable pipeline moves closer to 945 to 950 crore. Management expects around 75% of the unexecuted order book to be executed during the current year itself. And importantly, this pipeline isn't dependent on just one business. Rodney Hunt alone has an order book of around 366 crore, Waterfront around 40 crores, Mahar Maschinenbau around 19 crore, and Westech approximately 45 crore, giving the company multiple growth engines working simultaneously. What's even more encouraging is where these orders are coming from. A few years ago, the business was far more dependent on India. Going forward, management wants this mix to become even more balanced. Around 40 to 45% from India, nearly 35% from the US, about 15% from Europe, and the remaining 15 to 20% from other international markets. In simple words, the future growth story is no longer tied to a single country. It is gradually becoming a truly global water infrastructure business.
Now, whenever a business has a strong growth runway, the next question every investor should ask is, what stops competitors from taking that opportunity away? And this is where Jash's moat starts becoming visible. Water infrastructure isn't a business where anyone can simply set up a factory and start winning projects.
Most products are custom engineered, built for specific applications, and expected to operate reliably for decades. That's why customers don't choose suppliers on price alone. They look for execution capability, engineering expertise, manufacturing scale, and a proven track record. Over the years, Jash has quietly built these strengths through its global manufacturing footprint, diversified product portfolio, acquisition-led expansion, and decades of execution experience, creating meaningful entry barriers for new competitors. Of course, even strong businesses have risks. The biggest near-term challenge came from US tariffs, which reduced revenue from around $36 million to $29 million as previously booked orders couldn't be repriced immediately. Yet, gross margins declined by only about 1%, highlighting the resilience of the business. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, the story becomes quite simple. More importantly, the company has already adapted.
New orders are being priced under the revised tariff structure. The upcoming Houston facility will localize production, and over 80% of Rodney Hunt's current order book has already been priced for the prevailing tariff environment. So while tariffs remain monitorable, management is already taking steps to reduce their long-term impact.
JASH isn't betting on a single project or a single geography. It's building a global engineering platform positioned across almost every stage of the water ecosystem. Backed by acquisitions, capacity expansion, and a diversified product portfolio, the company is quietly positioning itself to benefit from one of the world's largest long-term infrastructure opportunities.
And yeah, investors, we also find these small cap and micro cap and SME opportunities at an early stage through our research services, Emerging Titans and Tiny Titans. Emerging Titans is mainly built for main board small and mid cap companies, while Tiny Titans focuses purely on SME listed stocks. Across both services, you will receive detailed research reports, entry and exit strategies, allocation guidance, and regular updates. So if you want to be a part of our research community, you can visit valueeducator.com or check the link in the description. We follow our sprint framework to discover such niche stocks with strong potential. So if you haven't subscribed to our services, please do check out the details. If you found this detailed breakdown useful, then like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below sprint if you like the detailed research. We will meet next Saturday with another video at 11 AM. Till then, please do share this video with your family, friends, and other investors so that they can get the detailed insights. And do check out my other detailed stock analysis videos on my YouTube channel. So see you all on next Saturday at 11 AM.